what you are suggesting is what's happening is, people are closing up. The protectionist walls are coming up in various countries because of the various packages being introduced domestically in those nations. But are there countries that are resisting such moves in order to, like you said earlier, to gain from the rebound?
At the moment, the trend is towards more protectionism rather than less. Unfortunately, the main signals, the most powerful signals, have been sent by the United States and by individual countries in the European Union, and so there's copycatting going on elsewhere. The danger is that this can't be contained, it will get out of control, it will prolong the recession, make it deeper, and compromise the chances for recovery. So this is a problem that has to be contained. And I think it also means containing out-of-control government at home, because it's linked to out-of-control government abroad. One qualifying point: it's not as simple as it was in the 1930s. The response to the Wall Street crash was not just bigger government at home, but wholesale protectionism abroad, which of course made the depression even worse, made it last much longer. And it happened through a huge increase in tariffs, and there was tit-for-tat retaliation. It's much more subtle these days. It's not happening like that in terms of a quantum leap in protectionism. It's happening slowly. It's creeping ahead. And it's happening mainly through these complicated non-tariff barriers, like subsidies, like government procurement practices, like foreign investment restrictions, like standards protectionism.
Yeah, because IMF chief had said the protectionism through the back door the other day. And, the thing is, there is no real academic debate, I guess. I mean, you're the first person that we are having on the show who's actually saying, look, this is the wrong thing to do, because everyone seems to believe that there is only one solution, right? So in this context, and also if you look at what's happening in not just, even in Sri Lanka, we are saying, look, stimulus packages, government expenditure. And in some countries, they can actually do it. I mean, countries perhaps like India and so on, where they have, space. And in countries like Sri Lanka, where there's absolutely no space, also try to...
But Harsha, I think it's a mistake in India as well. Now, there are some countries around, like China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Chile, perhaps Australia, with reasonably sound public finances, who can afford a little bit of fiscal stimulus. They have to be careful how they do it, but markets, consumers, producers are confident, perhaps, that some of these countries will get back onto more conservative fiscal policy track in the future. But there is no confidence in countries that have managed their public finances awfully in recent years. And that's one major reason why I think the fiscal stimulus package is going to fail in the States, fail in the UK, and fail in India. Because these are countries that have pretty awful public finances. And markets and consumers can't be confident that they will return to the path of virtue once the crisis is over. Rather, they will think governments will inflate their way out of their borrowings or default. In other words, they're not going to act as they're going to be expected to act with all this extra government expenditure. India is very much in that situation. It has a consolidated budget deficit which is going back up to 10%, high levels of public debt, it's crowding out private investment, and this Congress-led government, which has been pretty pathetic for the most part, it's been a no-reform government, is not doing anything to make it better. Yeah. And the stimulus packages in India are another dog's breakfast of giving a little bit to this interest group, a little bit to that interest group, but will, I think, have very little economy-wide effect.
Yeah, but I mean, the argument is, look, what you're saying is, let the markets come back and free up what is clogged and, give the supply response a chance. But, the argument is that, it's going to take time, right? And in the long term, Keynes said everyone's dead, right? And what needs to happen is some stimulation somewhere, so that, you know, right now there's going to be some activity. So how do you balance the two issues?
Yes, there needs to be some stimulation, but it can be achieved by other means rather than fiscal stimulus in countries that can't afford fiscal stimulus. So usually what happens automatically with a recession is that public expenditure increases on, you know, welfare payments and so on, more so in developed countries than in developing countries, admittedly, and the tax take also comes down. So you have a kind of automatic effect. More can be done on monetary policy. So yes, there should be an aggressive approach to cutting interest rates and fixing the banking system.
Yeah, but Razin, I mean, interest rates have dropped to almost nothing. I mean, a liquidity trap. I mean, how much more can interest rates drop?
They can't drop much further, that's true. But my thinking is that this recession is going to be severe in any case. Other instruments can be used to mitigate some of the effects.
When you say other instruments?
Monetary policy, perhaps using some more adventurous tools. Some of them are very technical in the short term. Getting back to the point I made before, getting credit flowing through the banking system, which can be done to a large extent without fiscal stimulus, is vital. Those mechanisms hopefully will mitigate some of the worst effects during this recession. The main point is to make the recession as short as possible, and then get in the right position for a healthy recovery.
So what you're arguing then is that these fiscal stimulus packages, which have very sort of domestic protectionist clauses in them, are going to reduce global trade and the basically globalization, right? Reduce the in your point of view, the advantages.
Yes, that's, I think, the really big danger. Keynes said, and he's often quoted by new converts as saying, back in the 1930s, when asked a hostile question, "When the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do, sir?" Keynes was a free trader. In the 1930s, not only did he become a proponent of active macroeconomic policy, he also became a protectionist. That's important to bear in mind. The two were related to him, because he didn't want to see all this demand seeping abroad, which is why you need protection at home. In that sense, the Buy America provisions have some logic. My answer to that is you need a compass. One shouldn't be theological about it. One has to be pragmatic and adjust to circumstances, but one shouldn't, to mix metaphors, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Rudyard Kipling, in his famous poem, If, he said, "When all about you are losing their minds, you should keep yours." Right? That, I think, is the right response to this crude Keynesian approach of throwing the kitchen sink at everything and hoping that something will stick and something will work.
Yeah, but what's happening in reality is the support for your argument, is diminishing on a daily